Could you? Okay. Thank you very much. With a conference like this and the discussion that we're going to engage in on very important issues, I, as co-chairman, wanted to present some data, so therefore that we would have a common background to understand the various presentations of this morning. So for this purpose, I put together some slides on socioeconomic data that describe what has happened in the past. So therefore, to understand where we have been and in order to discuss where we may be going or what we need to do in order to progress in the future. So if I could have the first slide. The first slide here is on GDP, the growth from 2000 to 2010. And the important thing here is to understand that the recession, we had a very deep and sustained recession starting in 2008, and the worst part of this was in 2009. And so from 2009, we started to get out of it, but in 2012, some countries have gone back into recession. Not only the UK, but Italy and the usual suspects of Spain, Greece, Portugal. So this is where we are at the present time. We're trying to struggle out of recession. But to do this, there's been a lot of discussion about capital, the flow of capital. Do we have the flows of capital necessary in order to begin investing? And so in order to answer this question, we put together two slides of capital inflows, or FDI capital inflows, into the various countries, Europe and the United States, China, India. And the interesting thing is that we still have significant inflows. If we take Europe, going from each single European country to Europe as a whole, we have as much capital inflow in Europe as China has. So therefore, it's not a question of the lack of availability of capital. The question, from my point of view, is that we have to be aware of the fact that we are not investing that available capital, that we are afraid of investing. And so therefore, the question is, how do we overcome that fear of investment? The second slide on capital outflows, here we have a parallel type of data vis-a-vis what the GDP figure showed, is that in Europe we had significant capital outflows in the during the recession. And so therefore, recessionary period does not favor capital inflows. If anything, it produces the opposite. And interesting thing is that if you look at the UK figure, we've got capital outflows, significant capital outflows from the UK, while countries like Italy and Spain are the amount of capital outflow is steady at a fairly low level. The last two slides I want to show you deal with patents. I mean, in terms of the major theme of this conference is technology and how we can use our knowledge in order to help grow. And so with this slide, first slide is, can you give me 4A, that one. Here we see that across time we have had sort of one steady element, and that is that the United States is by far the largest, as a country, using the country definition, the largest producer of patents. And that continues. But this table also shows that China is growing very, very fast in this area. And therefore, if we look at the Chinese figures, they have doubled. The number of patents have doubled every 3 years. And so therefore, that's an important thing to keep in mind. Thirdly, these figures do not have the patents registered in the European Patent Office. Because when we talk about Europe, and sometimes we talk about Europe as a whole, and sometimes we talk about Europe vis-a-vis individual countries. So therefore, if you look at the individual countries, unfortunately I didn't have the data for all of Europe. If you look at individual countries, the largest producer of patents is Germany. And then the second largest is France. Interesting thing here, comparative point of view, is that before 2004, the second was the UK. Since 2004, France has surpassed the UK in the production of patents, and therefore the UK remains flat. Interesting, and countries like Italy have increased their patents over time, Spain has, etc. And if we look at the non-European countries, we see that Brazil and India are really not major players in this area. Their level of patents are quite low in comparison to China or in comparison to other countries. But if we take the individual countries in Europe together and we also factor in the European Patent Office registrations, we get the same figure as in the US. So that Europe as a whole is a major producer of innovation. The question is, can that innovation be harnessed in order to produce investments, in order to produce economic growth? And I think that is the real challenge, is that we have not had major programs in order to harness this potential. And if we look at the sectors where these patents, the major sectors where these patents are being produced, in the US, it's computer technology. It's in the computer field that you get the major number of patents. In Europe, it's transport. In Japan, it's electrical machinery and optics. And so therefore, there is, in China, there isn't any sort of particular sector that is advanced vis-a-vis other sectors. And so therefore, there you have a grouping at a fairly low level, but it is homogeneous. It doesn't have the peaks that we find in the European countries or in the United States. And so therefore, this suggests that in China we have this broad-based production of patents that is helping the country very much in terms of its investments and its gains in productivity. But this is also possible in Europe. The last one, for that one. And here, this is a table that shows increases from year to year in patents. And so therefore, the green ones are major increases, and the reds are very minor increases or losses vis-a-vis the previous years. And so therefore, you see the green line going through China, and then the reds are in some of the European countries, but then picking up again in the last years. So therefore, if we get our policies right, we do have the basis in terms of technological innovation and capital inflows in order to be able to grow in the very near future. Thank you.